mean, let's face it, GDP is nowhere at the current point going negative. And I'm old school with my definition of a recession. And I've been vocal about that in the podcast before. So recessions are very easy. 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Put all the political biasy that they add to it.
Which we had
in 2022, the first half of the year.
Right. So that's the other thing about this, right? Is that, technically there was no declared recession in 2022.
But there was.
But yes, there was. And, people aren't counting that as an official recession. So people.
But if they did.
Then all of the data that I just went through with the yield curve and what Dr. Campbell Harvey talked about
will be very much augmented.
It would be very different because we already had that recession. So it's going to be, again, and I hate this uncertainty as much as anyone else, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because I think on the flip side of it, in let's say 10 years from now, they look back and they're like, oh yeah, actually
that was a recession.
2022 was a recession. What happens if we don't go into a recession over the next 2 years? Are people prepared for that? I feel like everyone is prepared for the worst of the worst right now, but are you prepared for good times rolling on if we don't go into a recession?
Well said. I mean, I'm gonna do a Mark McEvely classic quote. It's what the market is not focused on is what derails it, is what takes it by surprise. So Jenna's gonna love that. I'm taking a Mark McEvely classic quote. And if everyone is concerned about an imminent recession and it doesn't happen, what happens to the market? You're going to see a pretty big counter rally, right?
Yeah, and
that's a possibility hardly no one's talking about.
No. It's all doom and gloom, and it's usually doom and gloom, but even more so in times like these.
Sure,
you're like, oh, it's done, we're over, everyone's going broke. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. We have an election coming up. It's gonna ruin the whole world.
Yeah. And then you see corporate profits continuing to chug along nicely.
Yeah.